Namaste. Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakapa Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we're starting with the last text of chapter 9 in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is text 34, page 470. Together, we can recite these together. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Translation. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to chapter 10, the opulence of the absolute. Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya eva mahabaho Shinu me paramam vacha Yate ham give you great joy. Text 2. Name Budhu Suragana Prabhavam Namaharshaya Aham Adir Hidevanam Maharshinam Cha Sarvasha. Translation. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. Text 3. Yomam ajam anadim cha veti loka maheshwaram asamudha samartyeshu sarva papai pramuchyate. Translation. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. Texts 4 through 5. Buddhir jnanam esam moha Shama satyam dhamma shama Sukham dukham bhavo bhavo Bhayam cha bhayam evacha Ahimsa samata tushtistapo Dhanam yasho yashaha Bhavanti bhava bhutanam Mata eva pritag vidha. Translation. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, self-control and calmness, pleasure and pain, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, nonviolence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy are created by me alone. Text 6. Maharshaya sapta purve chatvaro manavastata madbhava manasa jata yesham loka ima prajaha. Translation. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in these planets descend from them. Text 7. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tatvataha So vikalpena yogena yujyate natra samshaya. Translation. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Text 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Text 9. Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. Translation. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Text 10, final verse of the day. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Translation. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Shishiko Nutai Kicha. So go back to some amazing verses here. We'll go back to text 9, chapter 9, text 34, and we'll read. I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Text 34. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Karma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Leela, verses 41 through 48. Deha dehi vibhedo yam nashvare vidyate tvachit, which means that there is no difference in Krishna, Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because they do not know this science of Krishna, the commentators hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading the people. So there's people sometimes want to come up with their own conclusions to things, and they might read so much and then want to debate certain things. But when you get the perfect knowledge descending, you have to, it has to resonate. Hopefully it resonates with you. And we've seen so much nonsense our whole lives, but how much does this resonate, and how much does it fill our hearts with love? And so we can't speculate, and we have to take it as it is, just like Bhagavad Gita as it is. We could sit there and see all the think about all the possible symbolism, or this means this, that might mean that, and it's very easy to get involved in just a circular, like a whirlwind, and the whole world is like that. They're mostly just talking nonsense things and just flapping their gums, as it's said, and because they don't have any direction. first of all, we need some direction. We need to know some of the introductory lessons. We are not this body. We are spirit soul. That is very important. And most people don't think that, don't aren't thinking that way. And they may think we have a different soul than that's in the animal. And so that's why it's okay to kill the animal and eat it because they don't have a soul or something like that. But really, we are our spirit soul. So that's very important. We need to tell everyone that. And, you always have these books to distribute. And even if you don't have a book with you to distribute, the books are in your heart if you've read them enough. So you always have knowledge to distribute. You can always distribute Srila Prabhupada's knowledge at any time because you have it in your heart. It's in there. You just have to bring it out, and it's going to help purify you by sharing those things that you already know to be true, that Krishna is the absolute truth, and there's no difference between Krishna and the supreme truth and his body um, and it's Krishna and um, these this is a very important verse. These are some very important verses today. Text 34, chapters 7 through the middle 6 chapters are considered, kind of the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapters 9 and 10 are considered most essential of those by many. And this verse in particular is considered the most confidential, most essential knowledge in the Gita. Just engage your mind always in thinking of me, offer obeisances and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So it's about complete absorption, not 50% absorption, not 10% absorption, complete absorption, completely dunked in the tank of Krishna consciousness. And so you should be completely wet from this dunk and always stay like that. And so no matter if you are in a tough spot in your life, or if you feel like things are going really good, or things aren't going good, or no matter who you are out there, you keep, no matter what dualities you may be observing, you just keep this in your forefront, that always think of Krishna, always worship Krishna, and he's right there with you, and being completely absorbed in Krishna. And then we can go to him, and then he will bring us towards him, and we will go towards him. And we just have to have complete absorption. So some people out there, maybe billionaires out there, that are feeling like they've got enough money, but still not satisfied for some reason. And so Krishna consciousness is for them. And there may be a homeless person walking around that doesn't know where the next meal will come from, or maybe tormented, or there may be so many relationships out there that are either going great or not going so great. But Krishna is there, and we have to remember to be completely absorbed in Krishna. He's there for you. When you're having a hard time, he's there for you. And when you're having a great time, he's there with you, enjoying. So he's right there in the heart, Paramatma. He's seated in the heart. And so call on him by chanting the Maha Mantra every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the Maha Mantra. That is the great mantra that Lord Chaitanya, when he came 500 years ago, when God descended as a devotee, he gave us the mantra, and he said, this in the degraded age of Kali, which we're in. We're about 5,000 years into this 432,000 year age of Kali. He said, this is the way, this is the path in this Kali Yuga. So we got the key. We got the nice key to unlock the safe. We didn't have to sit there and try to scramble the codes figure out how many numbers for the combination. And there's so many schools of thought out there. There's so many paths. People tell us about the path that they're on, and they may be very invested in it, and it may be confusing to us to hear about all their everything that they think. But this is the simple knowledge. It's very clear, you know. You know, and religion is like an upadi. It's just a material designation. That's the same as saying I'm from America. I love America. That's my place. I love that place so much. I'll do anything for that country. Oh, it's like, what about those other people in those other countries? Do you care at all about them? So Krishna consciousness and Bhakti yoga, we're learning to treat everyone the same. We we respect everyone, no matter what religion they're from, or whether they're Hindu, or whether they're Catholic or Jewish, or or atheist or agnostic. We just see them as spirit soul. It's like, hello, spirit soul. How are you? Let's talk about God. Aren't we all God's children? Don't aren't we all? Is there one God, or is there a God for each religion? Is that a different God? The Catholic God versus the Muslim God, is that different? There's one God, and we're all His children. And Krishna consciousness is trying to unite the whole world under this umbrella of love of Godhead, of science of self-realization. What is the self? Um, who is God? And we can we can get along with everybody with this knowledge we've learned. Srila Prabhupada was so expert at getting along with everybody, and he's so kind, and he could inspire someone with his words, or he could talk to a stranger and totally mesmerize them, and have them fall in love with Krishna, just because he's such a pure devotee, and his love of Krishna was just emanating from him. So people could sense that. They could say, wow, I usually can't sense these types of things, but that's a pure person. That's an amazing person right there. I want to hear what he has to say. And he showed his compassion, over and over again. And um, Radhanath Swami tells a story of, he was traveling around India before he met Srila Prabhupada, and found ISKCON, and there was this big pandal, and there was like 5,000 people there. And Radhanath Swami was kind of sitting pretty far back. He had met some devotees that day, and talked with them for a while, but he was sitting kind of far back. And he said, out of the blue, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples went through the whole audience and kind of walked right up to him. And Radhanath Swami had, I think, long hair at that time, and he was just studying so many things in India, and walking around, living in caves, and meeting so many people. But the disciple came up to Radhanath Swami and said, please, Srila Prabhupada wants you to sit up on stage right there, close to him, right next to him. So Radhanath Swami's thinking, what? Why me? This is amazing. How did this happen? But amazing things happen in Krishna consciousness. And then I think Srila Prabhupada was walking off the stage, and Radhanath Swami went to grab his feet, touch his feet. That's something you did over there a lot of the time. And someone said, no, you can't do that. You can't touch Srila Prabhupada's feet. And Srila Prabhupada said, it's okay, let him touch. So he touched his feet. And Srila Prabhupada showed his mercy to devotees. Like um, there was someone, Giri Raj Swami tells a story about a person that would kind of read a lot in the entryway and also sleep right there. And Crazy Peter, they called him. And they called Srila Prabhupada and they said, what should we do about this? And he said, what's the problem? Just kind of, and um, that turned out to be Kushakrata Prabhu. And there's another um, devotee, and Indra Yumna Swami tells a story of in France, this devotee or this person that just kind of lived in the bushes, just kind of a homeless person. And he at one point he jumped out from the bushes and touched Srila Prabhupada's feet. And they said, no, no. And Srila Prabhupada kind of patted his head and lovingly. And he turned out to be a really good book distributor eventually. And he would go up to people and he would just say, Srila Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me. And so there was so much mercy, so much kindness that Srila Prabhupada showed over and over again. Going on here in the purport, there are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continually. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Otherwise, understanding Krishna from the wrong source will prove fruitless. As it said, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena seviya upadekshanti te gyanam gyaninas tattvadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So you don't have to go to India to find spiritual master, and you just have to humble yourself enough to take guidance from an expert, a spiritual master. And it's recommended in the Vedas, it's recommended by Srila Prabhupada. And those lessons will stay with you. And once you see the kindness of the leaders here, and it'll melt your heart, over and over again. And so just that's such a big part of it. And then you're taking the knowledge from descending knowledge from the fruit that's being passed down, the mango that's being passed down very gently, instead of just shaking off the tree and then it gets bruises, or maybe you can't reach it. But if you could just take the fruit from that person above you and then try to pass it down, and that will be very nice. And one should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna, with conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme. He should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer into the Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. So we bow down before the deities, and we're practicing humbling ourselves and showing humility. And, you can't go to the spiritual world if you don't know how to bow down before Krishna, we're getting trained, hopefully, to go to the spiritual world. So we have to know some of the practices. We have to know how to show respect and humility in front of a great soul, in front of a Mahajana, in front of Krishna. We have to show respect, and we want to dress like they dress in the spiritual world. Shiva Ramaswamy said, "What are you going to sit up there and do deity? You're going to perform deity worship with a suit and tie on?" It's like in the spiritual world, we have to dress like they dress, and we want to eat like they eat. We want to think like they think. We want to associate with who they associate with. And he goes on to say, in the 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, pure devotional service to the Lord has been explained, apart from the yoga of knowledge and mystic yoga or fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahmajyoti and localized Paramatma, but a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There's a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be the perfect saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to this process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. So Krishna doesn't he's taking care of his devotees, and he's personally taking care of his pure devotees, and he's making sure that Maya doesn't come reaching out as much in that same way. He's making sure that the devotee just can't even. There's a little bit of protection, just like the wind we were talking about last week. How an upside down bowl, it's considered like the wind can blow up in the skies, but it can't. It's contained within a certain bowl. So the devotees are protected, and the demigods, one can worship the demigods, but obtain very temporary results, permanent results. Krishna is the permanent one, the infinite one that doesn't have to take birth again the way every other living entity does, the way the demigods do. And the demigods can only give these temporary boons, and we're hankering for something much more permanent, something everlasting, and satisfying. These are the things that actually satisfy the soul. To have to take birth again, to die. People don't want to die. It doesn't compute, because they want something more. They want it doesn't resonate. The soul deep down knows it's permanent, and we just have to catch our intelligence up to what the soul already deeply knows, that it's infinite. It's doesn't have to take. We just take different bodies. That's reincarnation. We take different bodies after this life, depending on your state of consciousness. You'll take a different body, maybe as an animal, or maybe as a human in a devotional family, or maybe as a demigod, or maybe as a spiritual body in the land of Krishna Loka. Chapter 10 goes on the opulence of the absolute. I'll read some of these texts, and then text 8 through 11 are very important verses. They're known as the Chatur Shloki. 4 important verses of the Bhagavad Gita are text 8 through 11, so those are very important. I'll start with text 1 here. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear friend, mighty armed Arjuna, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit and which will give you great joy. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, self-control and calmness, pleasure and pain, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy are created by me alone. The seven great sages, and before them the four other great sages and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in these planets descend from them. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Text 8. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Purport. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Gaipayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again it is said, Ata Purusho Havai Narayano Kamayata Prajash Shreja Ityupa Kramya. Then the Supreme Personality of Narayan desired to create living entities. Again it is said, Narayanad Brahma Jayate Narayanad Prajapati Prajayate Narayanad Indro Jayate Narayanad Astau Vasavo Jayante Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayante Narayanad Vada Shadityaha. From Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayan, Indra is born. From Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Adityas are born. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Then it is said, Eko Vai Narayana Asina Brahmana Ishano Napo Nagni Samao Neme Dvav Aprithvi Na Nakshatrani Na Surya Sa Ekaki Na Ramate Tasya Dhyananta Yasya Yatra Chandogai Kriyamana Stakari Samjnaka Stuti Stomam Uchyate. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky, no sun. There is only Krishna who creates all and enjoys all. End quote. In the many Puranas, it is said that Lord Shiva was born from the highest, the Supreme Lord Krishna, and the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma, Krishna also says, Prajapatim cha rudram chapyaham eva shajami vaitau hi mam na vijanito mama maya vimohitau. The patriarchs, Shiva, and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayana paro devas tamaj jatash chaturmukha tasmad rudra bhavad deva sacha sarvagnatam gata. Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. So a created being can't know everything about its creator. You have to ask and you have to find out. And just like a child has to find out, the mother is the best source to know who the father is. So the child should go to the mother. And a created being cannot completely understand everything about itself. And so that's what we are working on. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says that because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master and from Vedic literature, who engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness, becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. So these fools seem somewhat esoteric. Like, am I really gonna? But yes, you're going to. You have to engage. You're going to be engaging with people when we go on book distribution, and we're going to. You encounter so many different opinions that our knowledge has to be so firm and rock solid, like rock solid armor, and just avoiding unauthorized commentaries and interpretations, and not listening to or giving any credence to so many other practices that are out there, so many opinions, and people will tell you the most amazing things that they think about themselves, that they have this power, or they can see this in people, and it is nice that people have. Krishna has given people different skills, different skill sets, but we just go off of this. We just go off of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, nectar of devotion, and that's what we need to form our foundation, our foundation of knowledge. Because you can try to read every book in the world, or you can try to read every ancient text, and you could go on many lifetimes doing that. But how about a shortcut? How about an elevator ride to the top of the 300th floor, instead of having to climb up all those steps, maybe getting lost along the way, or tired. Life is short, and we only have so much time. Time is our most valuable resource. You can't buy back a second for $1 million. And so being very structured. And so we only have so much time. So let's go to these books that have been recommended by the great Vaishnavacharyas from this Sampradaya. They're trying to make it to where we don't struggle. They're trying to make it to where we don't have to sit there and read and sit there and try to figure out a combination lock. They're saying, no, take this. Take this. This will lead you in the right directions, and you will get self-realization. And Krishna is the all worshipable entity, and you should just worship him. Clear out all the clutter. That clutter is time wasting. It may seem like enjoyment sometimes. Oh yeah, I'm going to read this other book or listen to this other thing, but it can be cluttered. It can be clutter, and it can actually really get in the way of our devotional lives to put clutter in front of us. And we need a non-cluttered environment. So keep it very, very simple in your mind. I'm just going to read the 4 verses of the Chatur Shloki. Text 8. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna's helping clear that clutter. He's turning the light on, and all of a sudden the light is on and we can see, whereas we were in a dark room and we didn't know how many dangerous things were right around us. But now that the light is on, we can see where we're at. We can see the potential dangers and also how to navigate. So Krishna is compassionate for his devotees. He's compassionate towards every living entity, but the devotees, he has special compassion for them because they are coming towards him, because they are seeking him out, and they understand his opulence, or at least they have a glimpse of it, and they know that he is the one who demands all respect. And to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So you're going to be being devoted and worshiping him, and then you can come to him and worship him with love. He doesn't just say worship me, he says worship me with love. And love is a special characteristic of the devotee's love for Krishna, and Krishna's love for the devotee is a very special relationship. And it is said that one of the greatest gifts, one of the greatest life lessons is to learn how to be loved and how to love in return. And it's not as easy as it sounds, but that is one of the greatest lessons in life. And Krishna is saying, just be constantly devoted. Don't ever think there's a second where we're not together, where you're not mine. So there's no second, there's no I'm taking a 10-minute break or an hour break. No, that's actually completely satisfying to know, to try to be constantly devoted. That's the ultimate satisfaction, and worshiping Krishna with love. Then he gives us the understanding by which we can come to him. So he's giving us some understanding as well, and that only he can impart. Just like this knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, this is the song of God. Who could have imagined such a great text? Who could have imagined such a great text as the Srimad Bhagavatam, with all of its hundreds and thousands of details and all of its glorifications of the Supreme Lord? He's giving the understanding. He's directly giving this understanding. And text 9. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. Again, the verse, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. I especially like this part about the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. It's like he's hanging on to them. It's like he loves when someone thinks about him and thinks lovingly about him. It's like he hangs on to it, and he loves it. It doesn't go unnoticed. You can be sure he notices everything. And when a devotee has a very pure, loving thought about Krishna, he takes special attention. He says, oh, what is this? What is this? Radharani loves him so much that he had to take he had to see what this was like, this devotion that she had, which was so overwhelming to him. He said, let me take a birth and try to understand this love of devotion, being a devotee of Krishna. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they're actually situated in love of God. So in the preliminary stage, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. In the mature stage, they're actually situated in love of God. Complete situated, complete firm fixedness. So maybe at first someone is getting some enjoyment out of taking some prasad. Maybe someone comes to the temple for the first time, and as we remember coming to the temple for the first time, you smell all the beautiful smells. In fact, the smells of the worship services are emanating. They're actually all around the building. You can walk around the building and smell the wonderful smells. And so they're enjoying maybe that transcendental prasadam. But in the more mature stage, they're just situated in love of God, just immersed at all times, completely in bliss. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. A seed takes time. And you have to water it. So a seed may be planted, but you have to give it special care. And as the seed grows, as the creeper, that Bhakti Lata creeper grows, unfortunately, there's also some weeds that are grown at the same time. So we have to pay special attention to uproot those weeds as that creeper of devotional service grows and grows and will eventually penetrate the coverings of the material universe and find its spot in Goloka Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya, there are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. So yeah, if it's said in one of the verses that if one gets a chance to purchase, Krishna consciousness is very rare. And if one gets a chance to purchase it, one must do so without delay. So the wise person hears this and is drawn to it. And when you have a chance to purchase something and it's like one time only, hey, you got one chance. Do you want to take a hold of this deal, this bargain right now? You get one chance. Otherwise, it may miss you. So we have to give it and get it and situate ourselves in it as much as possible. Well, unfortunately, we're about out of time for tonight, but thank you for your association. Srila Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.